All right, that should be up and live now. Go ahead and send out a text saying that it is live. Man, me and YouTube just do not get along. All right, we are actually officially live now. Let me get a quick share and we'll be underway. Gonna go ahead and share this out so people know we are live. How's it going, John David? I'm doing good, man. How are you? Sorry it's a little late. Me and YouTube just do not get along. So we're gonna send this out. All right, and okay. All right, that is done. Yeah, I'm ready to put this past week in mind as too. This is the first time I've streamed on YouTube. How's the audio? Everybody hear it okay? I'm gonna let some people pile in here from the Instagram, and we will get underway. So the way this is gonna work, we're gonna go in and we're just gonna talk about. I'll give you my spiel for what I thought about the weekend. We'll go through like the normal show, and then I will open it up. We'll do questions, Q&A, stuff like that. Kind of like we do on the normal post game stuff. All right, so let's get it underway. Um, and I want to start out with this. Right now, the fan base is as fractured as it's ever been. We haven't had this problem. We've obviously had Nick Saban as our head coach for a long time, and the fan base has never really been fractured on that. But if you're new to the program, if you've never seen a fractured fan base, welcome. This is what a fractured fan base looks like. First things first, I want to say thank you guys for joining in. This is the first time we've done a live. For everybody who's come from Instagram or YouTube, I appreciate you being here. Please hit that like, please hit that follow button, and hit the little bell icon so um, you know whenever we do go live here at Talking Tide. It's also very basic on this screen. I don't like the way it looks, but it was kind of a late day getting in and didn't have a lot of time to change it, but we'll get it cleaned up and looking a lot better. All right, so we're going to get straight into it. The fan base right now is scrambling, and we are trying to find fingers to point at people and say, this guy is what's wrong with this program. He's the reason we lost. This person's the reason we lost. And I'm going to make it simpler for you. We're not going to talk about, we're not necessarily going to start pointing fingers. We're going to talk about people who are not the reason that we lost that game in Tallahassee. And the one name I see floated everywhere right now, number one, Ty Simpson is not the reason we lost that football game. Now, the people who are going to say, oh, we need Keelan Russell, we need to bench Ty and see what the next guy up can do, are the same people that said Milrow wasn't right for the job. Let's see what the next guy up can do. Now, Ty, I'm going to put it like this. Was he perfect in that game? No. He made mistakes. It's his first game starting. I'm not going to blame him for the mistakes he made, and he did a lot of good things. He threw for 250 plus yards, threw 2 touchdowns and no interceptions. He, for me, was the real worry coming into this game because he's the big question mark. Didn't turn the ball over, didn't take any big sacks, but he didn't need to. He was running for his life on most of that third quarter and fourth quarter. He was productive. If you look at his stat line, we can go win with stat lines that look like that as long as we play a balanced offense, which we didn't do. Do I like seeing 43 pass attempts next to his name? No, absolutely not. Yeah, Ty played good enough to win. If you gave me that stat line at the beginning of the game and said this is Ty's stat line, I think we win that football game. So opening drive, we start out, we had 55 rushing yards on that opening drive. It took 7.5 minutes. It was vintage Alabama. We looked great. I was super confident. I love the way we move the ball. We rotated three running backs, which running back was something I was a little bit worried about coming into this game. I knew we had three elite guys in the backfield, but kind of like Ty, they had never really been tested. Um, a couple of good guys. We ran the ball 12 times on that opening drive, and then we ran the ball 29 times for the rest of the game entirely. Ty threw the ball 43 times. Bama has always played its best when we've played a balanced offense, and that is not what a balanced offense looks like. Now, we got to a point where it felt like we had to throw the ball to try and get the ball moving down the field when it was a little bit later, but we went away from the run game way too early, and it was working. Shout out a couple of running backs. Kevin Riley, going to be a real bright spot for this team, I believe. He'll probably get a majority of the carries going forward. Um, yeah, we snapped the ball under center, something I haven't seen in a long time, and we did it. And our offensive line did a good job. We moved the ball well. Kevin Riley, all the running backs, Richard Young, all the guys moved the ball very well. But as soon as we scored, we went away from that. I do want to talk about the bright spots in this game. Kevin Riley is one of them. I know it was Jeremy Bernard. Played a great game. Had, I want to say, 8 catches for about 150 yards in that game. I said he'll be wide receiver number 1 at the end of the season in the pregame. I think it's going to hold up. I think he will be. He was one of the reasons we were still in that game late. And I think he can be a game changer for us. Josh Kravis as well. I said the tight end room was a little bit shaky and not as well snuffed out as it has been in the past, but Josh Kravis played very well for us. All right, that's kind of all the bright spots done. There's not a whole lot, unfortunately. Let's talk about a little bit of the flack that was pointed. The offensive line was one of them. Do I think they played amazing? No. Do I think that? I mean, they let Ty run for his life late on in the fourth and third quarter. Do I think they played an okay game? Was it serviceable? Yeah. But we had a lot of problems with pressures. I found a tweet. I'll post it later. Of guys who gave up a certain amount of pressures. I think Proctor had about 6 he gave up. Brailsford did a great job. I think he only gave up 1 pressure. Formby had 1 false start, but he did okay with not giving up a ton of pressures. The left side of that line struggled a little bit more than I was hoping that they would. So I think that's something that has to be drilled down. And again, these guys are experienced. They have a lot of snaps under their belt, but they don't have a lot of snaps under their belt as a unit. We had guys like Tyler Booker last year, Parker Brailsford, Caden Proctor. Those guys were a good unit, and they worked together very well. We've got a couple of guys now, like Vandermark didn't start all of last year, got a lot of snaps in, but never started. So it's kind of one of those things where I think we can snuff it out. This unit can be elite, and they have a lot of elite talent, but we got to communicate. We got to do a better job of getting our assignments down. I got my show notes, and obviously my handwriting is not great. I'm a lefty, so all of it's smudged. We can nitpick the offense all day. We had a few situations where one of the things that Ty is getting really criticized for, there was a 4th down and 7. He had an opportunity to run the ball. I think he could have got the first down if he did run the ball somewhere in that third quarter. But if I look back a play before that, we did it twice, in fact. We had a 3rd down and 5 and a 3rd down and 7 in that kind of gray area. It's where you're not going to kick a field goal, but you're also not going to punt the ball. It's 4-down territory. We had 2 opportunities to try and go for it twice. We ran the ball okay. If you run the ball, you pick up 2 or 3 yards, make it a very manageable 4th down. We threw the ball twice on both the 3rd and 5 and 3rd down and 7, and we're stuck in a 4th down and 5, 4th down and 7 instead of 4th and 3, 4th and 2. So that was a couple little nitpicky things I didn't like with the play calling necessarily. Was that the reason we lost the game? No, it was not. But one of the criticisms directed at Ty was specifically about that 4th down and 7, and I just don't think he needs to be put in that situation to begin with. That's a lot of all the talking I want to get done for the offense. I don't think the offense was necessarily doing anything bad. Were they great? No, but I don't think they did anything necessarily to lose us that game. We got to talk about the defense, though. Defense is a big talking point. I'm sure that's what everybody wants to talk about. Oh, yeah, sorry, I already read that comment. Here's the thing. With the defense, it's hard to find a place to start, but we'll start on the defensive front. The number one thing I actually said it going into the pregame. I thought this defense was going to shine. They did not. Um, Pretty blatantly put. Whenever you run this offense, Kane Womack's offense is his defense is a defense that relies a lot on getting pressure to quarterbacks. We had no penetration. We had no pressure on Castellanos. Um, I said that Tim Keenan being hurt wasn't going to be the crux that makes us lose this game. It looks like it very well could have been. Do I think we can win that game without him? I do. Did we struggle without him? Yes, we did. We got no penetration. Castellanos had time to do whatever he wanted to do in that backfield. Whenever you play against an RPO style offense, you have to create a little bit of havoc in the backfield, especially when it's a Malzahn run offense. You have to start creating some uh, frustration, a little bit of chaos in that backfield. We played three up front a lot. I didn't love that necessarily. We did it at times last year where we played three down linemen in kind of a 3-point stance, and then we also had one guy who would play usually like the bandit or the wolf position, and they would be in a 2-point. So it can create a little bit of confusion, but we had a real problem with getting any kind of penetration and pressure on the quarterback. Yeah, Florida State had 230 rushing yards. It is embarrassing to get run on like that. They had more rushing yards than they had passing yards. Now, one thing I did want to talk about, and we'll get to the secondary here in a minute. Whenever we look at our defensive line versus their defensive line, we have talent across the board. We have more talent than they do, undoubtedly. But when we look at the stats, for our tackles for loss, we had 3 tackles for loss and 1 sack. And Keon Sabb made the sack, which was he had to step up from his safety spot and try and create a little bit of havoc. And it was when we started overloading, we started getting pressures. They had 7 tackles for loss and 3 sacks. So that shows you right there. We have the talent, but we're doing something wrong to begin with in the buildup, whether it's scheming, whether it's preparation, whether it's eye discipline, whether it's intensity. We're doing something wrong because we're getting outplayed by guys who have less skill than we do. Moving next, we'll go to linebackers. Here's again. I expected Deontay Lawson, Nikai Hill-Green, and Justin Jefferson to get a lot of the snaps. They did, but they looked very, very timid while doing it. Every time we would step up very timidly. We didn't hit holes very hard. We struggled to keep our run gap discipline at times, which we saw last year against Vanderbilt. This looked like a carbon copy of that Vanderbilt game, by the way. We really struggled to keep our run gap discipline. The fact that one went sit, yeah, that's another problem. I do want to talk a little bit about that. I didn't get a chance to go through that whole conference, but we are going to definitely talk about the press conference that we had. The fact that he said we weren't surprised by anything is insanity. The whole press conference, I just think, was poorly run, or they said what they were supposed to say, but I didn't get a lot of motivation from it. I'll say that. So our run gap discipline was poor. We did not hit holes with any kind of intensity. We tackled poorly. There's that video of a certain player. I'm not going to fire at any players here because it's too early for that, but of us jogging around the field while plays were happening. There's a couple of leaders on that defensive side, guys like Deontay Lawson, who I expect to step up and be real leaders in that room now. Guys like Jihad Campbell, we don't have anymore. So Deontay Lawson, some of those older upperclassmen, they got to start stepping up and being leaders, but we feel very timid. We really do out there. There's not a lot of intensity. Moving back, we'll go into the secondary. Here's the thing. We talk about Florida State. They had 230 rushing yards. I think they had, I wrote it down here somewhere, they had 154 passing yards. That's not a lot. If you would have told me that pregame, they had 154 passing yards, I would have been okay. None of their wide receivers had more than 2 catches. I would have been okay with that as well. We did a good job covering on the back end. The problem becomes whenever they did make catches, they made them very effective. I mean, they had a couple wide receivers. I think Squirrel White had a 60-yarder. I can't remember who their number 2 was, but he had a 44-yarder. So they made a lot of big plays happen when they needed to in the secondary, and we weren't able to stop it. And again, with this 4-2-5 defense, it does work only when you start creating a lot of pressure on the quarterback. If he has all time to stand back there in the pocket and make plays happen, we're going to get opened up a little bit. Whenever you look at cover 7, like Nick Saban used to run, it was Cover up the seams, don't let them hit you big, and that's kind of the opposite of what we run now. We cover up screens, we cover up quasi run plays, and we put a lot of pressure on quarterbacks. We can get hit for the big one, and we did a couple times in this game when they mattered. But it was the same lack of intensity, same lack of discipline in the secondary. We had a couple of scheming issues I didn't love. Um, we had one play, I think we got busted big. Their first one they busted was Dijon Lee, true freshman, lined up against Squirrel White, their best receiver with no safety help. Stuff like that can't happen. That's a scheming problem. That happened a couple of weeks ago, or a couple of years ago rather. Whenever we played Tennessee and we got beat for it. Um, I think that was all I really had to say about the secondary. Last thing I want to talk about is the coaching staff, and this will be the last little spiel I go on before we open up, do questions, whatever you want to talk about. I do have, so I got roped into playing fantasy NFL. I have no idea. I don't follow the NFL one bit. So, but we have a family fantasy draft, so I got to be off before 8:15 ish. So we'll try and wrap that up kind of quick. I was late. Next show will be better and more well timed. But the last thing I want to talk about is the coaching staff. I did like some of what the offense was doing. Do I think Ty Simpson needs to throw the ball 43 times? No, I do not. Do I think we have a much better scheme and Bama always plays better whenever we play balanced football, and we have the running back room to do that despite missing Jam Miller. I think that if we can keep Ty from having to throw the ball so many times, we play better football. We have to keep the defense on their heels, keep them guessing a little bit. Just draft all. Yeah, honestly, that's what I'm thinking about doing. Just going to draft Bama players. Give me Jahmyr Gibbs, give me Calvin Ridley. He's got a new quarterback. Give me Jalen Hurts. Then I'll be ready to go. I think that's a great plan. Honestly. Let's see, where was I? So here's the thing, and it's the biggest talking point, so it's no surprise to anybody. The biggest talking point is going to be that defense. Offense played okay. They didn't play amazing, but they played well enough to help us win the game. Defense seriously lacked in preparation and intensity and discipline. And that's kind of what I want to end on, because it's said a lot in these past couple of days, but nobody fears Alabama defenses anymore. Like, none. And it pains me to say that. It genuinely does, because that's what Alabama has always been known for. Me, when I was growing up, it was watching guys on defense, guys like Courtney Upshaw, Rolando McClain, CJ Mosley, guys like that who were intense, man. They wanted to play. They wanted to go headhunting. I get chills talking about guys like that. And then they mean something. Those guys mean something. That intensity means something to people like me and people like you, but it just doesn't feel like it means as much anymore. And the thing is, if our guys want to go out now and they want to be held in the same regard as players like that, they have to have that intensity. They have to want to go headhunting. They have to want to go out and prove that Bama is still the standard. Because right now, people go out and they try and make their name laying you out. People go out. There were guys playing the FSU game. They went out and they laid out a couple of Bama guys and it posted all over social media. That they make their name beating up on Bama defenses now, and that's a serious problem. And one thing I want to talk about is, we talked a little bit about leadership in the locker room. Guys like the names I just mentioned wouldn't let that happen, and their teammates wouldn't let that happen. They would hold them accountable if it did happen. And accountability is what I want to end on. Here's the thing. Everybody on that field has the talent. Everybody on that defense has the talent. If you didn't have the talent, we wouldn't be having this conversation. I wouldn't be as upset as I currently am if you didn't have the talent. If you didn't have the talent, I'd say, you know what? Florida State's a better football team. They went out, they beat us fair and square because we don't have the guys. But we do have the guys. That's the problem. Lack of intensity, lack of attention to detail, and lack of accountability. If the guy next to you saying, in practice, messing up, not getting the plays right, lacking intensity, call him out for it. That's where the leadership is shown. Everybody has to play up to the standard. And if you can't do that, don't be here. It's as simple as that. You come to Bama to be the best. You come to Bama to be the standout of the standouts, the elite of the elite. That is the standard. That is the standard that Bama has put forward. And if you don't want to be a part of it, don't be here. Everybody's spot's up for grabs. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, if you don't want to play with that intensity, if you don't want to play up to the standard, Bama isn't the place for you. It's as simple as that. And that goes for the coaches as well. Nobody is above it. Here's the thing. I like the coaching staff. I like DeBoer. I like the people he's put together. But whenever your star receiver goes out there and gets cracked by a former Bama player, potential targeting call, knocks him out of the game, has a concussion, everybody can tell it right away. Am I going to stand there with am I or you or Saban or Dabo or Kirby? Are we just going to sit there and with our hand over our mouth, just kind of sitting there? Oh, you know what happened? Whether I think it's targeting or not, if I'm that head coach, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to lay into that referee. I'm going to lay into him. I'm going to go get a 15-yard penalty. I don't care. The thing is, you have to go to war for your guys, so they go to war for you. It seems like nobody out there wants to go out there and battle for each other. And that feels like a real problem. The culture, if you don't want to go out there and you don't want to battle for each other, the standard is gone. The dynasty is dead. It's as simple as that. And guys have to realize that. You have to go out there. You have to battle for everything. You got to battle for the guys who came before you, the guys who built this program. You got to go out there and battle for them. And if you don't, then what happened this weekend is going to happen a lot more this year. That's kind of a doom and gloom way to end it, but that's kind of where we stand. It really is kind of a make or break season for Bama. And people are talking about the dynasty being dead and all this kind of stuff, but this is the make or break season. There's no Saban anymore. There's no there's no standard to be held anymore. Yeah, everybody's spot is up for grabs. Everybody's spot on that depth chart is not guaranteed next week. If you go out and practice, go have attention to detail, go out, play with intensity, have accountability, show some leadership. That's how you get your name on the depth chart. Because everybody has the talent. They just don't go out there and show it. If anybody has any questions, we'll do some questions. Common question I'm getting right now is where do I think we'll fall in the rankings? I think we'll probably go to 17, somewhere in there. I don't think we fall out of the rankings. We'll see how we play against Louisiana Monroe this weekend. Here's the thing. I said a lot of doom and gloom. The season is not over. We have opportunities coming before us that can very well get us back into the championship picture, but not with the intensity that we showed last week. What time is it? It's 8 o'clock. I probably got to jump off of here in just a second. If anybody has any questions, we'll do some questions. Again, it's not all doom and gloom. We have Georgia coming. We're going to Georgia in a couple of weeks. If we go out there, if we win that game, we're right back in the title picture. But it's not going to happen with how we played this weekend. But it is a huge opportunity in front of some of these guys. And they just have to go out there and be willing to take it. I think that's just about going to do it. I'm getting texts about our family draft now, so I probably will have to go. I hope you guys enjoyed doing something live a little bit different. Sorry I'm a little bit late. That's on me. I packed a kind of a full afternoon this week, or full afternoon today. We'll do our Wednesday show on Wednesday. It should be about 7 o'clock. Hopefully it'll look a little bit better than this. I hate the way this production looks, but hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully I will see you guys on Wednesday night. Please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Yep. Have a good evening, John David. Have a good evening, Brock. Yeah, and roll tide, guys. Again, we have the ability to bounce back, but we just have to go out and do it. I hope you guys have a good night. Thanks for joining in. I will see you guys on Wednesday night.